Hi, this is Marty Ferpoli with the Insider Exam Prep, and we're here to talk about CPCU 520 Assignment 4 Underwriting. We're going to try to get the big picture here to help us prepare for the practice questions that follow in this chapter, and then of course that should set you up for the real exam questions that comes later. So what is the framework we're looking for to understand underwriting activities? The first module talks about line underwriters and staff underwriters, and you can be sure that will be on the exam. And the words line and the word staff do not convey any meaning to me by themselves, and I presume it might be the same for you. So we need to know that a line underwriter is a lower level team member. That is a person who simply follows the underwriting process that someone else has devised. Staff underwriter is a higher level team member, and this person is engaged with creating the underwriting policies, the underwriting processes that the line underwriters follow. And an easy way that I found to remember this is the L for line is like the L for lower. So it's a lower level person. The S for staff is like the S for supervisor, and that's a higher level person. There are several key words and phrases throughout this entire chapter that we'll need to know. We're not going to hit them all right here in this video, although they are all covered completely in the practice questions that follow. But let's talk about a few of the more important ones. Adverse selection. That is simply a circumstance when a person or an organization that is most likely to buy insurance also happens to be a person or an organization most likely to have a loss. So naturally, insurers don't like to see adverse selection taking place. Underwriting authority, that is simply when you apply it to an underwriter, how much authority that person has to make independent decisions without getting approval from someone at a higher level. And another phrase we see a lot, and not just in this chapter of CPCU 520, is return on equity. Now that's a profitability measure, and it's simply net income divided by net worth, also known as book value. Important thing to keep in mind, this doesn't apply just to insurers. This can apply to almost any organization. We see a lot of processes described in CPCU 520, and many of them are a circular process, and the underwriting process is another one of them. This is very common sense stuff. If you think of it in a common sense way, it's probably easier to remember and recall for the test. An insurer gets an application, a submission for insurance, and so it's going to evaluate it. Hey, do we want to insure this person or organization? The next step is to create a response to it. Decide what the underwriting alternatives are, and of course they range from accept to reject, and in between things like accept it with these modifications if the potential insured agrees to that. Simple next step is choose from among the alternatives you have specified. The fourth step is decide what the premium will be. Calculate it, and calculating the premium is really simple on a line like automobile. It gets more complicated where there's wiggle room on some larger commercial accounts. Afterwards, step 5, implement the decision. And once you've made a decision, step 6, monitor the decision. And then after that policy term has run, you're going to repeat this cycle. So it's pretty simple, it's pretty common sense, and you'll probably see quite a bit about it on the exam. The last couple of things we want to emphasize before we launch into the practice questions are underwriting metrics. How do you measure how an insurance underwriting team is performing? You'll see this a lot. The loss ratio, know it, know how to calculate it, know how to define it. The expense ratio, it's a different calculation, but know what that is. And of course, the loss ratio plus the expense ratio together are the combined ratio, which is a most complete measure. And another less important ratio that you'll see in this assignment and probably on the test is the hit ratio. So here we have gone over the big picture items that you need to wrap yourself around mentally the topics you'll see in Assignment 4 of CPCU 520, and now you can launch to the practice questions. And once you've mastered those, you are ready for the real exam on this particular set of material.